What is everybody? Welcome. Good morning. Truth and Transparency, Idaho4, Eric Gower, GPS Bombshell episode here. Let's get after it. Okie dokie. Again, good morning. If you want to support my channel, you can either subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. You can click the like button after you watch a video, or even before you watch a video, because you're like, damn, that's an amazing title. Damn, that's an amazing thumbnail. You can make yourself known in the comment section of the video. You can follow along live chatting while watching the video, interact with other people. You could super chat. You could super sticker. You can Cash App, PayPal. You can email me with tips and leads to the Mind Challenge at Gmail. I'll put that in the chat. You can be a part of the amazingness right here. You could be anonymous. You could say, give me some credit, ho. Again, welcome everybody. Come on in. Truth and Transparency. My name's Lana and I will be your host. It is April 2nd, 2026. And can you believe it? We are still literally dissecting the Idaho4 murders that happened on November 13th, 2022. So we keep getting, stuff keeps trickling in because Idaho wants to hide shit. Not only are they hiding stuff from like the public, but the victims' families are hiding stuff from. Last night I did I think it was an amazing interview. You guys can be the judge of it. Go check it out. I interviewed the DMV clerk, DOL clerk, whatever you want to call it. Peggy Gun. Peggy is amazing, amazing human being. Upbeat. Like, I don't think she's ever had a bad day, man. She looks at, there's a glass. It's half full, not half empty. I like to think that I look at life that way. I was involved and owned a bar. She got to talk a little bit about what she does now. And she just enjoys helping people like laughing, smiling, having a good time. And so she took that spirit with her to the DMV, which is amazing because no one's ever like that. So last night I had an interview with her, and you guys can go check it out. In its totality, it's only an hour. So I think that every question that you guys had on your mind, I had on my mind, and I asked. To me, it does not matter what Peggy thinks as far as, is he innocent, is he guilty? You guys, she doesn't even know the case. I think like she was told not to follow it. She was told to stay away from it. And so I think that's a very unfair question. And that's the only question that I left off the table. And I did not ask Peggy because I think she would probably tell you, if you want to go ask her yourself, if somebody said that they did something, right? Take them at their word. But more importantly, I think that she would tell you that she has no idea because she doesn't know what the case, like what they would have against him. And in fact, she told you that her personal experience with Brian Colbert was not creepy at all. So anyways, go check out all that. Now, during my short vacation to Rikers, just kidding. During my short vacation, AKA my wrongful conviction last week, I was wrongfully accused and I was wrongfully convicted by AI, as well as fake human reviews. I'm here to tell my story today. I'm never going to stop talking about my fake accusation and my fake conviction. But as you guys know, I'm putting together one of the most comprehensive mock trials in the history of mock trials. I love mock trials, and I'm bringing that to light in the Idaho4 case. We were supposed to start, and we still are on track to start the Monday following Easter, which is this coming Monday. So we'll be live at 9 and we'll go till 3. And there's going to be witnesses, that are going to be called just like if we were in regular court. So that's what we'll be covering on the channel during the day. But last week, in the beginning of this week, I went to take another peek at Eric Gower. Okay. And I had my boy Pavarotti email me. And he's like, hey, I know you've been digging into Gower. Take a look at this. And so don't worry, guys. We are going to have, that end of the month live. He was sick, and then I was in jail. So those are our past two. So, but we are going to be bringing it, I promise. So those of you guys that are looking forward to that, myself and Pavarotti will be together here soon. But he went ahead and sent me, which I'm going to put up on the screen here in a second, but something that I was looking into was where they originally said that they did the interview / on November 18th in the Idaho State Police reports that all took place on November 18th. They also talked to Jack D on that day, and they also went into Jack D's house that day. Okay. So on November 18th, they say that they talk to Eric Gower, right? They have him come down and meet and bring his vehicle, and then we're going to go through the vehicle. All right. And they say something along the lines of, hey, drive it around here so the media can't see you. Shit like that. Very bizarre. But the CSI people that went and did this with Van Leuven, they made notes. They did bench notes. That's what they're called. And something that was put up, and I'm going to put up here, was number of other items collected. And it said hair, cigarette, butt, paper, note, possible face / hand / finger marks, and then the router and the modem. And then it says response event location. Okay. And it said the Prius, the GPS coordinates, and it gives us coordinates of 46 degrees and 117 degrees West Palouse Drive, Moscow, Idaho. And I said, okay, so I'm going to show you guys this lovely piece of paper. Yeah, Cindy, it was YouTube jail. YouTube jail. Take a look. So this is, come on, Hector, you got a job to do. Get it going, heck. All right, take a look. They're going to zoom in. See where it says response event location? Okay. And this is the Prius, okay? And then it gives the GPS coordinates, and then the coordinates were 930 West Palouse River Drive. And so for some reason, remember, they asked Eric Gower, hey, do you know where such and such is located? At the end of his interview on the 18th, I can play it again if you guys want to hear it, but basically, this is when Van Leuven says, do you know where such and such is located? Will you drive down there and we'll pull your vehicle in and we'll check everything there? Okay. And this is the location of that. And I'm going to zoom in here again. And where this is so this is West Palouse, like this. And right back in here, when you turn in like this, I think to come like that. It's this building. And guess where this takes you? Guess what this is? This is like Constagna. This is like if you were leaving out that night after you committed the murders. Do you see this building right here? Well, guess what that is? When you'd be leaving out after you committed the murders that night, they were talking about how Constagna turns into West. It can bring you down right to West Palouse River. Well, guess what's right there? And guess where they asked Eric Gower to meet them? In this, like, the city owns this. Now, what's crazy is if you were to look up that address right now and go to like your let's go, if I get out your Google and just type in 930 West Palouse River Drive. And when you type that in, it pops back up as Palouse Properties. Palouse Properties. Now, we're going to go now to... So I always thought it was weird when they were like, hey, instead of us going through your vehicle here at the police department where we have you, they say to Eric, do you know where such and such is located? And it's like, yeah, I know where that's at. And at first, one would say to themselves, this has to be so obvious that it's part of the city, okay? Because how the fuck would anybody know what I'm about to show you guys right now would be involved with the city? Take a look at this. So here we are. This is West Palouse River Drive. And I'm going to go down over here a little bit more. Oopsies, right here. Now I'm going to zoom in. What's that? Holy shit, Lana, you're right. It's Constagna. Do you understand that where they had this man meet, who is Eric Gower, who is driving that night? He is the DoorDash, okay? Or not the DoorDash, he's the private driver. They say, we're going to leave the police department. We're leaving the police department. And we're going to go to, so see, if you were to drive and take this all the way, you can get to none other than, oh my God, I will die. Is that a, that'll take you all the way to the King Road house. Okay. And so this is when the police are talking like the only way out of here is to go blah, blah, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. You see this back here? You see this road, this little street? See these buildings? See this shit? This is where 930, see how it says 990 Palouse River Drive? If you see how it says 960, okay? So I'm like, okay, well, 930. Where the fuck are you, right? 934, 932, 919. Got some trailers over there, probably where Molly lives. Okay. And I'm like, well, what's this? Well, it's back there. 930 is back. You have to, you can go, see this drive here? That goes to that driveway. But when you go up one more, a little bit more, see back in there? That's how you can get back to, see that? That's your 930 back there. And somehow it doesn't have the Willow View address. It has all of those buildings up there. It has the 930 address on. We're going to talk about this property right here soon, right here on the end. This property is very, very important to Atlanta. But why in the world, right? Hey, do you know where we want Eric Gower to leave the police department and drive his vehicle over here and pull into right here is where I think that they went in, right? A little bit more right there. Even though it says 960, these different buildings, I think, have different numbers on them. That's the only thing that makes sense to me about it being 930 up there. Okay, so where this is located, though, you guys. So this should just blow your minds. When I say this is the bombshell, this is a complete bombshell. Because where this is located, this is the city buildings, and these are, at the time, I mean, that's what they're saying. I mean, it's, go look at this piece of paper here, and it's saying that the response event location, this is where they searched Eric Gower's vehicle, okay, What always threw me off is when I read the report the first time, it made it seem like that they searched Eric Gower's vehicle at his home, underneath his carport. Okay. In fact, no. Also, what I thought was interesting is that they searched Eric Gower's vehicle almost like they go to Jack D's place and then they go to the Prius. They also were at the 1122 King Road house that day as well. So what I've been putting together is, okay, what's this timeline? Where were they? Who was leaving? Like, people left the 1122 King Road house that were documenting and going through with the house. They left that house. Okay. So think about this. You got people that were in the crime scene, right? This is why it's so very, very important that cross-contamination can happen. And you just have to be really, really careful. And so you're at the crime scene, then you leave there. People that were in that crime scene, they leave there and they then go to Jack D's house. And then they come to this location here. Okay. Which is this 930 West Palouse River Drive. And if you look up that, in my opinion, right now, if somebody can find me that it's not, I believe that is owned by it's owned by Palouse Properties. Do you guys remember what Palouse Properties is? Palouse Properties is the management company that runs a lot of those rental town. Okay. Rentals such as Queen Road Apartments. Okay. So when I found out where this place was located, they told Eric Gower to drive to. And then it's literally behind, like, this is how you would get, if you went the back roads from the police department to the King Road house, you would go this route. You would, let me show you. I'm going to go back to my map. Take this pic. Okay. You see this? Moscow Police Department at the bottom of your screen to the right. You guys can see over there, Moscow Police Department. Okay. So we're always used to seeing people come out of the police department, right? And go right, okay, and drive and then make a left. This is where your Steiner Lauder, you can make a left to come up and around. This is where Ridge Road is over here. And they'll bring you up to Taylor, okay? But guess what? If you want to go the back way to 1122 King Road, when you come up out of Moscow Police Department, you make a left on to Highway 95. Okay. And you would then come to none other than right here, which is, Sand Road becomes Palouse River Drive. And when you would make a right, you have all of these trailers on your left, which would love to know if Molly was kicking it over there. Anyways, you would keep on going as you can see us commuting here. Me, I'm over here, this little yellow person, right? These were all the RVs. The trailers are all on your left. All right. Take a looky here. Guess what? Guess where Molly came from? Molly came the back way too. How do we know that? Because Mark did phenomenal work. So this is the back way. Look at us. Here we go. Look where we're coming. Back road. And what are we going to do? We're going to go just a little bit further. A little bit right there. See the street? That's Willow. We're coming up to Willow View. Right there. You would make a right and you're going to go back to those buildings. See? That's now, if you continue to go straight, you're going to just go to the next street, which is Constagna, and you're going to make a right here. See Constagna, you're going to make a right. We're on it. And guess where that's going to take us? all the way down Casagna takes you to, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. Paradise Drive. So then you make a left on Sunnyside. Look at where this takes you. Walenta, Walenta. Oh, bridge. Walenta, Walenta. Oh, King. So this should really put into perspective, like, wow, this is a city building that is located on the back end of the King Road neighborhood. Okay. And this is the way that they say the killer left. And this is also the way that Molly came in. And then they asked for Eric Gower to come to this property, 930 West Palouse River Drive property. Come back, drive in here. And you know where that building is. And he says yes. He says yes, like it's like, hell yeah, I know where that building is. Like, I'd be like, huh? What building are you talking about? I'm at the police department. Where do you want to take me? Well, we want to go search your car, and I'm gonna play the end of this. And this is where Van Leuven, Idaho State Police Detective Van Leuven says, hey, I want you to, this is where you're going to drive your car. There's not going to be any media there. And I'm like, holy shit. First of all, he knows exactly where he's going, number one. Number two, this is the path the killer took at the fucking place. Remember when Ann Taylor was asking, so over here and over here and over here, do you have any of those, cameras? Where's camera footage over that in that area? You guys, this is a city building where they're conducting shit, and you're going to sit here and tell me that 930 West Palouse River property has no cameras? I call bullshit. I call absolute bullshit. Okay? 1000% does this building have cameras. So now we're going to go back down. I'll take us over here. Take us down here. I'm going to come back to where we need to be. Put me back on. There we go. Okay. So where it is back behind this. So you can, this is what Google tells you to do. Google tells you to turn on Willow View and tells you to pull in and come in this way, right there. And the building 930 is this right here. And it's like a garage. That's what they're saying. And this is where they searched Eric Gower's vehicle. And it's like, what? So this is, I'm going to play the end of the interview with Eric Gower so you can hear how Van Leuven, so we can just refresh our recollections, okay, of how Van Leuven talks about this property, and that this is where they say search his vehicle. They don't search this vehicle, guys. They take pictures of this shit. They take pictures. I can't find anywhere where they processed anything. There's a difference. They took pictures of this vehicle. Okay. They didn't process shit. All right. Now, let me get to that interview so I can pull it up. This is where the cars were coming and going from the back end of everything. That's why it was just like, wow, this is crazy to me. you need to add this to the whole dynamics of where people could have been meeting up and what could have been going on. Like, what goes on at that place? What was going on? So if you type in Eric Gower, we'll give a shout out to, we'll use, okay.
One ways around a little bit, so pulled up between Pi Phi and Pi Cap.
Okay.
Okay, so you know what? We're damn near done. Okay. The last thing that we're interested in, if you're willing to let us look inside of your car. Did you drive your Uber car?
I did.
Okay.
I was going to try and drive this weekend. I was going to plan to drive last night. So I'm usually the only one.
So what we'd like to do is we don't want to draw attention to you.
Okay.
And there's media all around here.
Okay.
And if we look inside your car or search your car or anything here in the parking lot, they're going to take pictures of us doing that. And your car is going to be on the front page of every newspaper on the world tomorrow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we want to avoid that.
Okay.
So
Appreciate it.
what we'd like to do, if you're willing, is we'd like you to drive. Let's see, where are we? We're in here somewhere.
That's Palouse River Drive right there.
Yeah, so we're up here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd like you to come down to Palouse River Drive and drive out here and drive in here. And this is an ITD yard. Okay. So just drive down to the ITD yard. We'll hop in an unmarked car. Okay. We'll follow you down there. We'll pull your car inside of a bay in a building.
Okay.
And there won't be any press down there. So nobody's going to take pictures of anything. Nobody's going to think anything.
Okay. I had a friend, I think, that lived in this, so I'm just trying to figure out where I need to turn here.
Well, I think you need to go past this building and then you turn in here.
Okay. So if I get to the third one?
Yeah, just
right after the
pull in here between the two buildings. I'm not sure where the bay is they have for us, but if you'll pull in there, we'll have somebody come with an alternate light source basically and just kind of look around.
Okay, well that's what I was going to say with that. Like I had my dog in the car last weekend, so I did vacuum the car. Didn't wipe it down or anything, but I did vacuum it.
No, that's totally fine. It's just
I did have my dog in the car last weekend. Last weekend is the weekend of the murders. His interview's on 11/18, you guys, which is a Friday. Last weekend is, what are you talking about? I did have my dog in the car last weekend. You understand that? And so I vacuumed it down. What the fuck are you talking about, Eric? You had the girls in the car on Saturday going into Sunday, and then actually on Sunday. What do you mean you had the dog in the car last weekend? So yeah, I had to, vacuum it down. Anyways, so the police, 1000%, whatever piece of property this is, okay, they basically they have rights of it, okay, and they tell him to go to this property, which is literally, it should be on everybody's radar right now, and it should be like, wait a second, holy shit, where was this located? Yeah, this is right where you would leave up out to go the back route, which is what they say the killer went when they left. This is where you would go. You would have to go past this. This is the 11/18 interview, correct? Okay. November 18th. He just whips out of his brains to say, well, I had my dog in the car last weekend. Excuse me, what? You were driving the girls on Sunday morning at 1:56 a.m. The 18th is a Friday. Okay. Awesome. So the 13th was Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. November 18th. This guy's 1000% lying. He's lying about so much shit. So much shit. And it all has to do with the shit that they were doing in that town. He's CI all day. Okay, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. He played Santa Claus. He played fucking Santa for the Moscow Police Department. His wife works for the police. And they're like, we don't want to draw attention to your vehicle because if we just start searching it here, all these cameras are going to take pictures of us. So we want you to come and drive to this location. Well, holy shit, where is this location at? Well, this is really interesting. What is this? So I've been checking and searching over and over and over to figure out who owns this 930 West Palouse property. Who owns it? Because the police think that they fucking own it in November of 2022. This is where you're going to meet us. You're going to come and we're going to follow you. We're going to be in an unmarked car. And we want you to drive down. So those pictures that we see of Eric Gower's vehicle. So I'm going to pull that back up. Okay. We're going to pull up the pictures again of Eric Gower's vehicle that I showed. So we're going to pull those up. And remember in the background of the pictures, there's like a big plow truck and shit. So they use this yard, this area, in my opinion, for, is it like a park? I don't want to say parks and recreation. But what are they storing over here? At the end of the day, this is, damn sure, like, that they have cameras on this property because of what they have on this property. They have government shit. You're just going to let it, you're not going to have any cameras on it. Get out of here. So let's take a look. Let's go back here one more time, how he explains where we're going to be heading, Van Leuven.
Yeah, just right after the pull in here between the two buildings. I'm not sure where the bay is they have for us, but if you'll pull in there, we'll have somebody come with an alternate light source, basically, and just kind of look around.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to say with that. Like, I had my dog in the car last weekend, so I did vacuum the car. Didn't wipe it down or anything, but I did vacuum it.
No, that's totally fine.
That's totally fine, Van Leuven says. Oh, you had your dog in the car? Why wouldn't you say, when did you have your dog in the car? How do you not, like, immediately catch on to that? Like, that is just, to me, oh, you had your dog in the car? When? He said last weekend. When? That means the only day that that's possible is Sunday, okay? And he doesn't want to give up his car because before that, he's like, well, I was planning on driving. Well, if you have your dog in the car, that is a freshly vacuumed vehicle. Like, as in, like, it looks like you vacuumed it before you came to your little interview.
We'd like to do, if you're willing, is we'd like you to drive. Let's see, where are we? We're in here.
So right before that.
So usually the only one.
So you know what? We're damn near done. The last thing that we're interested in, if you're willing to let us look inside of your car. Did you drive your Uber car?
I did.
Okay.
I was going to try and drive this weekend. I was going to plan to drive last night.
What do you say right there?
Try and drive this weekend. I was going to plan to drive last night. So usually the only one.
So what we'd like to do.
So he says that because he thinks that they're about to take his vehicle and, like, keep it. Okay. He says they're about, he just feels like he's like, I need my vehicle this weekend because I was going to drive, remember there was talks about somebody being like shook up and I didn't drive after this, like, but not Eric. He's back at it. Okay. He's back at it. He drove last weekend, the weekend of the murders, right? I'm going to drive again this weekend, right? So he's like basically saying that because he doesn't want his car to be taken. Not necessarily that, hey, I'm trying to, like, hide anything, right? No, he wants his vehicle because he's under the impression, in my opinion, that they're going to keep it to go through it. Okay.
We don't want to draw attention to you. Okay. And there's media all around here.
Okay.
And if we look inside your car or search your car or anything here in the parking lot, they're going to take pictures of us doing that. And your car is going to be on the front page of every newspaper in the world tomorrow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we want to avoid that.
Okay.
So what we'd like to do if you're willing, is we'd like you to drive. Let's see, where are we? We're in here somewhere.
That's Palouse River Drive right there.
Yeah, so we're up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd like you to come down to Palouse River Drive and drive out here and drive in here, and this is an ITD yard. So
Okay.
just drive.
ITD yard. Is that what he said? An ITD yard. ITD yard. ITD yard. If you guys want to help out, look up any disturbance type calls that happened on this address, which is this IDT. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. It's transportation, right? Government. That's a government building. Government. They must rent that from Palouse Properties. I don't know. Palouse Properties owns that right now. So that Willow Trail, whatever that what was, hold on, let me get the Willow View Place. Willow View Place. I would love to know what type of phone calls have ever come through in 2022 and even 2023, like thereafter, the murders, of anything that was going on, or like a disturbance, anybody calling in anything for that area, for that little side street. So if you want to get on a task, that's what I'm running down right now, is the address, this little side street called Willow View Place. And it's the street that you would have to drive in on to go back into this area where Van Leeuwen's telling him to go, because this is where Eric Gower's car was searched through. And when you look at a map, you're like, holy shit, this is exactly right at this is the back end to get out and leave from 1122 King Road. And it was just amazing. It's like, wow, we never knew that this existed, right? And when Pavarotti sent this to me, he's like, you've been looking into Eric Gower. He's like, this is in the bench notes. And what I always assumed, because I never got to see the bottom half of it, and I don't know if he just added this, but the bottom half of this is if you punch in the coordinates, because all they had was the coordinates in there, is what I saw. Maybe my paper didn't print off right, but then they actually had all the different pictures of, like, from Google Maps. And I was like, wait a second, that's literally at the back end. That's how the killer left. Okay. This is how the fucking killer left up out of there. And to know that there was back nestled in this is where they lose the vehicle. This is where they lose this vehicle. There's never another sighting of this white Elantra in Moscow. How does it get out of Moscow without it being seen? And that's what Ann Taylor was going to argue, is that it would have had to leave this way, right? And there's a camera there. Or it has to leave this way, and there's a camera there, right? So she's going to point out all these ways to leave, and that this vehicle was not caught on camera. And nor were you guys interested in preserving it. Why wouldn't you be going and preserving all of the cameras that cover the exit points and the entry points to come into your city? Right? And that's what Ann Taylor was talking about in some of those hearings, when she's like asking Payne, where is this footage? Where is this footage? Do you know what this street is? Where is this? Where is this? And he acts like a fucking idiot, and he doesn't know anything, right? Well, I don't think he was acting. He didn't know anything because he didn't do the work. He didn't do any of the work in this case. He did not do any of the work in this case. He was errand boy. So, but everybody should be interested in the fact that Eric Gower was taken to a property. I'm going to pull up now back to my guy over here, Hector. Hector, come back in. What you got, Heck? Okay. And so this is, see the basketball hoop to go back into that area. So that's these buildings. So see this? When you're down on that side street here, this is Palouse River. So this is the Willow, and then this is the Constagna Drive, whatever. And to get to this building, you have to actually go, I think you can go right before you get to Constagna. There's like a little drive to get back here. Or you can come down Willow, okay, and come back like this and go in through here. And that's the building that we're looking at right here. That's when you're right here, that's it. So this is that Willow Street. And then right next to that house, there's this drive right here. There's a basketball hoop right here. And this is for you to go back. This is West Palouse River Drive. And how it looks then when you got the big map, right? This is that property. This is Taylor. And right here, when you come down Taylor, those the Queen Road Apartments right next to it. So there you go. And you could leave, like they said, you're leaving out the back here to leave, and you could actually get right into and pull your vehicle just right into one of those bays. It's like, if I was Ann Taylor, I want to know if that place has cameras, and I want all the camera from November 12th and November 13th. Literally never knew what this was back here. And then what butts up right next to it on the opposite side is that's where all the trailers are. Molly's always hanging out at the trailers. Molly claims that she went to the city to go and bring that DoorDash. That's not true. Why was Molly coming like the back way? Why was when Molly came to deliver the stuff, is she coming from the back to get over there? She claims that she went through the city to come down to, no, the fuck she didn't. She did not. Molly came from the back way. Molly came from Walenta. So I don't know why I took Molly out. Molly said that she went back there. That was her third time. No, the fuck it wasn't. We don't have Molly back there. We broke down every single car. Molly doesn't come back there. And then Molly tried to slide in and tried to say that she parked so far away on her first trip or two. You want to know why she says that? Because she knew that her vehicle was not seen on camera the first two times. Do you want to know how she knew to say that? Because she was already interviewed prior to the one that we see, the one that she comes in with pain. Molly had already been interviewed by the feds. Now, ready for this part? Peggy tells us last night. Write this down. Peggy tells us last night that this is crazy. Number one, between December 19th of knowing Brian Kohlberger's name, December 19th, and December, what day was he arrested? The 29th? Okay. What were they doing? They did not go to any of the DMVs. I thought what was logic to think is that the cops are the ones that found out about Brian going to the DOL. Okay, Department of Licensing. That's what they call it in Washington. DOL. We talked to Peggy. Peggy's like, yeah, no, that didn't happen at all. And I was like, holy shit. I knew that bit of it. And I was like, oh my God, when people hear this tomorrow, they're going to like lose their shit. Because I thought this was a no-brainer. In a 10-day period, the most important thing here is this vehicle, right? And you get the name Brian Kohlberger, and you're not scouring and calling up the Department of Licensing in the area to see if they had serviced a Brian Kohlberger, especially knowing that he once had Pennsylvania plates and he now has Washington plates. So I just want you to just think about this for a second. It's because the vehicle, they didn't give two shits about the vehicle. They always thought that that vehicle was a witness. They always thought that that vehicle, that they flew out of there and that they were witnesses. That's just my personal opinion. Okay. Now, so here's Peggy. They get no phone calls, nothing. So between December 19th and December 29th, nobody comes to their location and says, hey, we're asking people to be on the lookout for, white Elantras in this year to this year. Okay. We're wondering, is there a database that you can check, or are you not allowed to tell us this stuff? Get some information of, how many Elantras in this range are registered here? So I asked Peggy, like, did anybody come and talk to you or your boss? No. The answer was no. I'm like, what? Remember when they told us that 22,000 Elantras fit the criteria for what we're looking for? Where the fuck did they get that information from? Go check the date of that video. The date of that video is prior to the arrest of Brian Kohlberger. Prior to the arrest of Brian Kohlberger. Peggy and her peeps haven't even been approached. Wait, it gets better. It gets better. They have the name Brian Kohlberger, they say, on December 19th. What were they doing? What were they doing to try to build a fucking case? What's it, Jay Brill? Looking fine as ever, sir. Good morning. Hopefully you're doing well. I keep planting the flag in that little turd's face. So I scratched my head and I'm like, what the hell were you guys doing here? So then I asked Peggy. Right? You guys watched last night. If you didn't, little refresher. Then I asked Peggy, okay, you guys actually went to the police. Oh yeah. My boss called in because after the name, we were like, that name sounds so familiar. And so they typed it in and they were like, oh my God, he was here. Like we serviced him. And then her boss is like, oh my God, we have a 24-hour running surveillance system here. I bet you it's on there. Like him coming in here. Okay, now picture this, guys. After his arrest, they type it in. They, meaning Peggy and staff, type in his name. Then they call it in, which would be considered a tip. They call in a tip. Then a couple days later, then they go and, okay, we're going to talk to Peggy and we're going to talk to the boss and we're going to get the because I asked, well, this was 30 days past. How did you guys still have the footage? And so then I talked to her after our interview again, and I said, hey, can you ask your boss, if you still talk to her, if like how long does it stay in the cloud or her server before it would have been gone? Like, did they just potentially just get it in time because it was going to be X amount of time after that point? Anyways, they did have the video, but this was not because the police came. This was not because the police. This is because of Peggy and her boss calling the fucking police and telling them about this, then them coming out. Now, I have read every single police report in this case that has to do with Moscow Police Department. There was 315 reports, and then Idaho State Police read every single one of them. Same thing. There was over 600 or 700 pages. Okay. Not Peggy was interviewed by Idaho State Police detectives. That means Idaho State Police would be writing up a report. And this would have been coming from, here, we want you to follow up with this tip. Okay. That's what this report would have started off with. And then they arrive at this location in Washington, and they would have interviewed, and then they're writing down everything that they interviewed. Then they re-interviewed with her because then she was asked to come to like the station, and they sat her down, and then they went through the video. So that would be interview 2. Okay. So we have the tip, then they come to the store, then she goes to the police department. 1, 2. Now the third thing is that then she was asked to go and talk to the prosecutors. So she told me that she talked to Bill Thompson and Jennings. And she did that 2 times. And then she has the grand jury. Because then she was summoned for the grand jury. How in the fuck is Peggy Gun not in the fucking discovery? As soon as it turns noon here, guess who Lana gets the call? Guess who Lana's calling? I'm calling Bill Thompson. I'm calling Moscow Police Department. The only way that Ann Taylor ever found out the name Peggy Gun is through grand jury testimony. Her name being as a witness in the grand jury, and this is what she testified to. Where the hell are these reports? There is no report. And then so I asked her, I was like, did the feds? I said, the only thing, because we are not given the Fed material, right? I said, was it the Federal Bureau of Investigation that you interviewed with? And she says, it was Idaho State detectives. She has names. She has a point of contact. And that's why I asked her, I said, were you gagged? And she said, yeah, I was gagged. So let me ask you a question. How does Ann Taylor not put in a discovery request to say, where are your interviews with Peggy Gun? That would have been one of the requests, right? And normally what was happening is that when Ann Taylor was requesting something and they didn't have it, they would then write up a report after the fact. Okay? And so you're going to sit here and tell me that Ann Taylor did not ask for where, because I immediately thought that they would have the police went to Peggy, not vice versa. Well, the reason I asked that question is because it would have jogged her memory if the police would have asked, based on that model, like, how would I be able to see if this car had, fog lights, if they could answer something like that, but if that at all came up. But the bottom line is that Brian's car did not have fog lights, and the vehicle that they're trying to say is Brian's car has fog lights. And so it's just like right there off the rip. It's like, God, this is so bad. You cannot say that this is his car. That car has fog lights. His car does not. Like, it's that obvious. But I knew I didn't want to ask a leading question for her. That's why I said how I said it, to see if she would say, oh, the police asked me about that. You know, that would jog your memory to talk about fog lights. So here you have all of these interactions. Dude, the biggest thing is she was prepped like you would prep any witness, right? That's normal. You're allowed to prep people. You're allowed to talk about logistics. You're allowed, but guess what you also have to do? You have to write a report. And so I asked her, I said, were these interviews recorded? And she said, yes. She said, yes. Bill Thompson, Ashley Jennings recorded. I said, hell yeah. Go give me that. I want that camera. I want that footage. And then I said to Peggy, I said, well, you know that you can request any and all of your reports, that anytime that you met with the police, you could ask them for a copy of your police reports. But I'm just shocked. I am shocked that there are no police reports with Peggy Gun. Like, and they were basically trying to get out of her. That's why the grand jury was asking these questions about Brian. Did it seem like Brian basically was trying to hide the fact and go there to get rid of his other license plates and get these new ones and blah, blah, blah? And here Peggy was like, yeah, no, the reason why, she's like, she just was answering questions matter of fact. And it's like, no, we have a rule that you have to do X, Y, and Z within a certain time, or you want to do it outside of a certain time, as she was explaining last night, unless you want to get screwed and pay twice. So it should be, when you want to talk about corruption, you got to just talk about it across the whole board. And it has nothing to do with innocence or guilt of Brian Koberger. This has to go to you guys. They were not even, you're supposedly trying to build a case for a quadruple homicide. And they are telling you to go and investigate this Brian Koberger kid because the tip is Brian Koberger. And you're going to sit here and tell me between the 19th and the 29th, when they got that name, they didn't go to the fucking DOL, the Department of Licensing. They didn't go. What the fuck were they doing to try to build a case against Brian Koberger? And that's what should just blow everybody's mind. And these women went to the police, and then they didn't record anything. And then lo and behold, this woman, Peggy Gun, testifies to the grand jury. And for what? We want to talk about the interactions? No, they wanted to be able to use the camera. They wanted to be able to use the camera to show that he had gloves on. That's what they really, truly wanted. That's it. That's what Bill Thompson wanted. And guess what Peggy just said? Well, I think because of COVID, that falls flat on its face. Because everybody was still in the mindset of that and wearing masks still and gloves. So like that, like she was just like, and he's from back east. So it was like, she didn't say like, oh my God, like that's just, wow, I can't believe that. Like, oh God, that's immediately what I thought. No, she said that there was nothing out of the ordinary that day, nothing stuck out. And they sat her, listen to this, guys. They didn't sit, where did they ever sit down Molly and show Molly the 1-1-1-2 footage and say, Molly, let's talk about these cars. Which one's yours? You know that they did. You know that Molly would have had to seen that video. If they sat down Peggy, and my personal belief is that they did it with Bill Thompson when they were going over the videos, and I'm going to break it down a little bit more with her. The detectives showed her this video. Do you understand that an important question on cross-examination would be, it was just another day though. There was nothing that stuck out to you. There's nothing weird about and that's what I asked at the end of my interview. And I said, you know, it's not like that guy left and you were like, oh my God, did you guys see blah, blah, blah? You didn't say anything like that, right? Yeah. She's like, no. She's like, I'm the type of person, whatever the person wants to talk about. Oh, you want to talk about baseball? Let's talk about baseball. So Bill Thompson only wanted that video to show that to the grand jury for the purpose of the gloves. That's it. And I think what could fall flat on its face, though, is you have the selfie of him at 6 o'clock in the morning going like this, like he does like all the time. And his hands are fine. I asked her, I was like, he wasn't like writing with a pen and he was like, ouch, or anything like that. Like his hands are all bruised or something. She's like, yeah, no, nothing. So if you count up all these situations or all these times, there is no reports written up. Nothing put into evidence. I'm gonna go back and check and see if they're calling it maybe grand jury shit. I don't know if what were these guys doing? What they suck. You guys, these people should not be police officers. I'm sorry, but this is crazy. The FBI is telling you that you need to make a case. Here's the guy's name. And what do they do for 10 days? Fucking nothing. Nothing. This all came to them after they arrested him. And I don't know how that's possible. When you're trying to claim all this shit about this white Elantra, you don't go to the DOL and ask them about a white Elantra. Fucking mind-blowing. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is this amazing filing. I'm going to back out. This is a huge... This is about all of the body-worn cam. This is about all of the evidence that they're trying to keep from us, but everything that EWU has done in this case, we've done in this case. We've gotten some of the most ridiculous requests. Like, you're going to pay 26 grand because I asked for all of the tips. All of the tips that came in up and until the day of the white Elantra being, you know, hey, we want information on that. So I wanted all the tips up and until whatever that December date was. I think it was the 12th. I think that they told us publicly the 13th about the white Elantra. Whatever the date was. I wanted up until that date. $26,000 is what I was quoted. 26 G's for them to supply what they already had done, because they had to supply it to the defense, right? Is the tips, which are AKA they turn into leads. They could potentially turn into lead sheets. They could potentially turn into leads, or they are just completely unfounded and they don't move on. Okay. Well, here, EWU is out of Nevada. And I want to show you what they did. What they basically filed here is, here are all of our requests. This is what they've wrote us back. Okay. And some stuff should really jump out at us. For example, they started this. So June 30th, 2025. He wasn't even in a deal yet. That was in July, but when it was all said and done, but on or about June 30th, EWU submitted an informal request by email to the Moscow Police Department seeking investigative materials related to the Brian Kohlberg case. On July 1st, 2025, the Moscow Police Department responded and directed EW to submit a formal request through the city's public request portal. On July 11th, 2025, EW submitted a formal public request through the city's portal seeking investigative materials, including but not limited to video recordings, audio recordings, photographs, communications, and other evidentiary materials. A true and correct copy of this request is attached as Exhibit A. So this is the first time they sent one in. And they listed everything. And basically, it was super generic. It was really broad. Okay. So all interrogation footage. So all of this stuff filmed in relation to the case in video format. And it goes on and on and on. Okay. Well, that was too broad. On or about July 14th, the city issued a written response denying the request in its entirety, citing a revised amended non-dissemination order in the criminal proceeding. A true and correct copy of this response is attached to Exhibit B. We'll come back to that. After the non-dissemination order was lifted, EWU submitted another request. So that's when Judge Hippler kept stuff in place. So they submit another request on July 23rd. On July 24th, the city responded that the request was broad, would require substantial time to locate, retrieve, review, and prepare responsive records, and would result in significant costs. The city further indicated that that processing this request would require more than 300 hours of staff time and cost in excess of $20,000. Required a deposit before proceeding. And stated that certain records created by other agencies would not be produced. A true and accurate copy of this response. And this is what we were facing too. Okay. And I was giving not broad requests. This was specific. The tips. They wanted 26 G's for these tips. And then they told me that they were going to be redacting it heavily, meaning I wasn't going to know who called in the tip. And it's fine if it was anonymous, leave it. But then they were going to redacting what the tip said. Like if a name was mentioned, are you fucking kidding me? I've never seen such shit in my life. They were going to redact potentially material that was in the tip, because if it was if it could potentially identify somebody if they were to say something in the tip, and it'd be a potential identifier. And so when I was talking to them, it was like they were like, "This is probably a huge waste of money because I don't know how much you're going to get out of it." Hold on one second. Then I asked if I said, okay, what's a better way to do this for the tips? And they thought the best way to do it was based on the date of the tip. Okay. Because what I was trying to prove here is that if you go off of when we were getting the updates and they were like, we've received, 500 tips to this point, and it was a certain date, and the purpose was to show that Ann Taylor received tips. She said it was like 52 card pickup by a million. That this shit was just everywhere. It wasn't organized. And so she makes it such a great point, right? How can you do your job if it's not organized? But she was basically saying also that I call bullshit on it, right? Because here's what you're putting out to the public. Down to we got 1,651 tips. That was the number that you would give on a certain date. if you were able to list a number like that, 1,651, media entries, that seems pretty specific. And you like have them located like in a certain area. Like, how are you not just then providing them to Anne like that? How are you able to investigate a case if your shit's all over the place? You can't. You just can't. So I even said, let's start with just the first 500 tips. What were the first 500 tips in this case? And if people don't think it's relevant, you're crazy. I want to see if ridiculous shit was being called in. I want to see remember when Payne says, hey, you know what? We get a lot of our stuff from the rumor mill. You'd be surprised, but the rumor mill is a really great place to get information with cases. So tell us, what are the rumors that you're hearing? That's what he's saying to people. So I was just like, let's see what the fuck's on here. Anyways, going back to this. Following the response, EWU communicated with the city's attorney, including discussions regarding narrowing and prioritizing the request and addressing cost estimate. On August 8th, we submitted a narrow request seeking more specific categories of materials, including video recordings, audio recordings. Right there is what I wanted to underline, which was phone extraction data. That was my latest one because I really wanted to just hone in on 2 days. All I cared about was 2 days of extraction material that belonged to Bethany and Dylan. And I said most specifically the steps and the stairs, the data that's on the phones with the steps and the stairs on 11/11, 11/12, and 11, like that weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it got denied for privacy reasons. That's an unwarranted invasion of privacy. I said, the fuck it is. It doesn't say where you're going and what you're doing. It's with your phone. And that's evidence in a murder case. You talk about an unwarranted invasion? That is relevant material. Dylan Mortensen had told the world that she saw Brian Kohlberger, or not him, but a masked man in their house at a certain time. Well, if there is no movement on Dylan Mortensen's phone, no steps, how the fuck did she get up out of bed to see anybody? Come on. Get out of here. This is not an unwarranted invasion of shit. If you can show me her bedroom and pictures of her bedroom, then you can definitely show me what her phone data said during a specific period of time. So we're going to be fighting that. But they actually went for it as well right here. And the phone extraction data that they wanted was all of actually Brian Kohlberger stuff. Okay. So on August 25th, and here I'll even show you guys that they were really specific. So then they broke it down like this. And then they went as far as like, okay, here we'll break everything down that you're saying. And then the answer was in this lighter color. Okay. This request is still overly broad. We have surveillance video from 112. So it's going on now. Then they were like, then they did what I did from jump. When you want to talk about overly broad, I never got that. I never once ever got that response that your requests are overly broad, because how I was always doing my responses are just like this, which were I gave you the supplemental report number, the officer involved in it, and exactly what I wanted. And so EWU took, I don't know, 5 or 6 stabs at it before they broke it down like this. Guess how much time it takes you when you have to break it down like this? You have to physically go through all of these supplemental reports. Okay. But what I did while I was going through them is I created a notebook. And as I was going through them, I was marking each one down and what it had specifically. And then I transferred it to a Word and Excel document. And boom, fired it off. But the only way that you could know any of this is if you go through the material. Guess what they wrote back after they were this specific? They're like, we need officer names. So they were giving them the supplemental report and what it consisted of. And then they're like, we need officer names. Then they tell them that, hey, we cannot give you any of these reports that are not ours. So like Pennsylvania State Police, FBI. And this is what they're heavily arguing. They're heavily arguing the fact that, let's go back here. Okay. They're heavily arguing the fact that based on my review of the material produced by the city, it is my understanding that the order permits disclosure of certain categories of information, including portions of the residents' personal property and witness-related materials, and that the city redacted materials beyond what appears to be required by that order. I've had this conversation with them so many times. Okay. I said, you guys are over redacting. This is the order. I provided as an exhibit Hippler's order. Okay. And then I provided the objection by the state, and that Hippler still said, nope, this is how we're doing it. And so for you to continue to block out people's names is absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's also taking me more time. I want you to release the evidence log with the people's names, because I know what I need, but I can't go through an evidence log where 5 or 6 people have the same fucking initials. Are you kidding me? Hey, can you provide us the name of the person that you want the interview of? No, I can't, because you have redacted that material. I can tell you the supplemental number that I need, but I don't know whose interview it is because it's so redacted. It's ridiculous. Like, I've never heard of such craziness. And Hippler already ruled that, sorry, witnesses' names are not being redacted. So what the fuck is going on, right? Nobody's getting harassed here. And at any time that the mainstream media doesn't cover shit, guys, they don't cover stuff when it's the biggest scandals upon scandals. Look at these idiots. Mainstream media has had a hard-on for the Epstein files for how many fucking years? None of these fuckers are talking about the Epstein files. Nobody's getting approval to be able to talk about it. Why aren't they talking about this case anymore? Because it blows up the state's narrative. Completely shreds it. If it wasn't for the family coming out and speaking about the fact that WSU completely hid Brian Kohlberger's internet searches, that should just mind fuck everybody out there. You know? Oh, that's right. He was on their server. He used their internet, so like they would be able to know exactly what he was looking up. How come the police never sought that out from WSU? Anybody want to ask themselves that? How come the police never sought out WSU and said, hey, we need X, Y, and Z from your server for the internet that you're providing to the students in this housing development, in this apartment complex, in this little area right here. The police never went and saw, after finding out that they think that Brian Culver wiped down his phone. Oh, well, guess what? We can just go and ask WSU for this material, right? Yeah, but they didn't. But they did not. Why? Why? What are you doing? You want to be able to prosecute this kid, right? He, according to the families, he fucking plotted and planned a quadruple homicide with your internet, with the internet capabilities of being housed at that apartment complex that WSU owns, and they monitor it all. Oh God, that would be really bad for WSU, wouldn't it? You know what's nuts is that they were already thinking about something like that. It's like they were already thinking about civilly how fucked they are about to be versus actually trying to solve the case. Isn't that wild? Get a conviction. These people were always in protect mode from the minute that the call came in and they realized that they had 4 dead bodies, that they were students at the University of Idaho, that they were Greek students. That should just mind blow everybody that Peggy and her boss had to call the police and let them know that they serviced Brian Culver at the DOL in Washington. And here we thought this whole entire time, because let's talk about the Lanier. Here, I'll just pull it up. We thought the whole entire time that they were working with the DMV and that they were working with both campuses to find out who had, Elantras registered and yada, 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 who was getting parking tickets, who was getting this, that, and the other, right? They weren't. Moscow Police Department YouTube channel Lanier. Okay, this is 12/12. So that would have been the day.
New information. As you can imagine, there's hours and hours and hours of videos, so it does take a lot of time. I want to talk a minute about safety. There's been a lot of speculation about what is the safety to the public right now, or the risk to the public right now. Operations Division. Good morning. My name is Roger Lanier. I'm a captain with the Moscow Police Department. I'm in charge of the Operations Division, and today is December 12th.
And I trampled through the entire 1122 crime scene. Me and my staff, a fine gentleman, we trampled through the whole entire crime scene. We were walking through every single room multiple times. Well, we were supposed to be just holding the crime scene, securing it. Me and my team were just trampling through the crime scene. Fucking idiots.
Monday, and I want to give you an update on the King Road homicide investigations, at least the information that we have to this point. Over the weekend, investigators still continue to sort through numerous tips, calls, and online tips in regard to this investigation. There's been a lot of questions about the white car that we've been interested in. We're looking for that car because we believe through our investigation that car was in the area during the time of the murders, and we also believe that the occupant or occupants may have seen something. They may not know they have seen something, So we specifically want to talk to them, and we want to know who they are and what they might know or might be able to contribute to the investigation. Over the weekend, investigators have sorted through and prioritized numerous tips. Some are tips that came in earlier and we've been working on. Other.
Did they use the word organize? This is why Lanier was going to be called to the stand. And Taylor was going to say, you say organized tips?
Seen something. They may not know they've seen something. So we specifically want to talk to them, and we want to know who they are and what they might know or might be able to contribute to the investigation. Over the weekend, investigators have sorted through and prioritized numerous tips. Some are tips that came in earlier and we've been working on. Other tips are new and are relevant. Over the weekend, investigators have sorted through and prioritized numerous tips. Some are tips that came in earlier and we've been working on.
Mr. Lanier, what do you mean by prioritize? How do you know what tip is a priority and what tip is not? Does it depend on who called it in? Like what? Prioritize. And how did you go about, where'd you, like, you just put them in little piles? You have little folders? Just drag it to this folder, drag it to that folder. Let's talk about this process of these tips. I mean, how this did not go to trial is beyond me.
Tips are new and are relevant. It's overwhelming sometimes with the amount of information that comes in on these tip lines. So our analysts have spent hours sorting through and trying to come up with the most relevant tips first for the investigators to follow up on.
Who were those people? I cannot wait for that. Who were the tip people? Who were assigned, hey, you're the tip sorter? Did you hit delete on any of those?
We have re-interviewed some of the folks we've interviewed earlier in this investigation to clarify information.
Was that Molly McMichael 5 times? Who did you re-interview? Who has been re-interviewed? Oh. Who? Eric Gower? If you guys consider Eric Gower talking to Blaker a fucking interview, that is pathetic. That is not an interview. Sorry. Dustin Blaker talking to anybody for 2 seconds is not an interview.
Sometimes when new information comes forward, the people that we've spoken to beforehand may have new insight on that. So it does often seem like we're backtracking, but we're really just trying to get the most important details and the best timeline that we can come up with. We have literally an army of analysts who have been sorting through videos that have been submitted through the FBI.gov Moscow upload site. Those videos are from all over town, gas stations, and specifically the area around King Road. We've been trying to use those videos to garner new information. As you can imagine, there's hours and hours and hours of video, so it does take a lot of time. I want to talk a minute about safety. There's been a lot of speculation about what is the safety to the public right now, or the risk to the public right now. I would just like to add that we should always be vigilant. Certainly we should be vigilant now, but we should make that a way of life for us. We should always be walking with our head up, sticking to lighted paths, and walking in groups if we can. And in addition, letting people know when you've arrived home if you have not made prior arrangements. This is not an indication of a specific elevated risk, but something that we should be vigilant with just in our daily lives. I want to let everybody know that we are still 100% committed to solving this crime. There's a lot of information to sort through, and the information keeps coming in. And not all of the information is relevant, but you don't know if a tip is valid until you take the time to examine that tip and see how it relates to other information that you might have. We have teams in Moscow, Salt Lake City, and in Virginia, as well as other locations across the country. And we're prepared to do interviews and follow up on information at any point, anywhere. The ISP and FBI investigators, along with the Moscow Police Department investigators, includes dozens of analysts, tip line operators, and others, and they're working around the clock, 7 days a week to sort through the volumes of information. MPD has detectives, support personnel, and a communications team to try to keep everything together, but it is still a daunting task. The FBI, their investigators are ready at a moment's notice at any place in the country to go conduct an interview should the tips and leads take us there. And the Idaho State Police has, besides working on the investigation, had several uniformed troopers in the area to help with safety concerns around the city and on the University of Idaho campus. And just a quick reminder, please stick to official news releases for information. Tracking down rumors and quelling rumors.
So stick to you guys talking about the fact that nobody saw anything and that the roommates were just downstairs the whole entire time, right?
About specific individuals or specific events that may or may not have happened is a huge distraction for investigators, and oftentimes is the result of social media propagation, and it is very, very frustrating to investigators and hard to stay on track. Finally, I just want to add that we do have a lot of information, and we are specifically keeping that information safe. We're not releasing specific details.
The fuck are you talking about? You released everything. You have little moles just running around giving information out. The defense isn't even part of the case yet. Okay. And Howard Bloom was given every single police report. Okay, coach.
Because we do not want to compromise this investigation.
You
It's what we
compromised
must do.
it.
We owe that to the families, and we owe that to the victims.
You owe what to the families? You're lying. You would have taken it to trial. That was the only reason that you have to keep everything with integrity is that you can prosecute. What a bunch of fucks.
We want more than just an arrest. We want a conviction. We owe that.
Oh, yeah, Atlanta. Let me hear it one more time. We want that conviction. No, you want that plea deal, puppy.
Because we do not want to compromise this investigation. It's what we must do. We owe that to the families, and we owe that to the victims. We want more than just an arrest. We want a conviction. We owe that justice to Xana, Kaylee, Madison, and Ethan. And
Oh, God. You guys are a joke.
finally, I would just like to remind anybody with information, you can call the tip line at 208-883-7180. And that is
Yeah, call in so that way we don't have to record it. Is it on a recorded line?
directly to the tip line office in the FBI. There's been some frustration about having to wade through the tip line, but remember, this is not the only investigation in the country. So please be patient.
Yeah, because that means it would be organized, right? So how can we not get this? How come it's so hard to FOIA request these tips? Okay, that you had to provide Ann Taylor. Like, we're not dumb. I'm gonna just start asking Brian Kohlberger for fucking his shit. I'm gonna start asking his parents. Listen, it's Brian's case. Brian can fucking give whoever the fuck he wants. He can give whatever the fuck he wants out. Whatever he wants out.
We want that information. Anything could break this open for us. And then also the email tip line is tipline@ci.moscow.id.us. Thank you for your continued patience in this.
Yeah. Thank you for your continued fuck job. Well, then the next day he comes out. Roger Lanier back with us here on the
that live
13th.
over there, many of them through.
What's this?
How did you react?
Oh, he does an interview.
Talk about the first time you heard about what happened. How did you react? What were your first steps?
Yeah, we have video footage of you now, so let's hear this now.
Investigator.
Yeah, well, it was hard. I got called at home. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and it took me a second. I really had to think about what I had just heard. 4 murders in Moscow, Idaho is so out of character. And at the time, they were
Out of
fairly
anywhere.
serious college students, and it was near the campus, and that area is kind of a campus community. So once I got over the initial shock, I knew that I was coming to the station. So I drove in, and everybody just kind of fell into a role. That was a all hands on deck moment Sunday afternoon. It became fairly apparent when I got to the scene that we were going to need resources outside of just what the Moscow Police Department could.
It became fairly apparent. And so I was going to ask about that. What do you mean that when you saw the scene that it became fairly apparent that you were going to need other resources? What did the scene tell you? Because I would think that the scene would tell you that the killer never left the house. And that somebody cleaned up.
Provide, and that we were going to need resources outside of just what the Moscow Police Department could provide. And we have a very, very good working relationship with the Idaho State Police. We knew what their capabilities were, and so that was the first call that we made to have their investigative team come up and help us process the scene.
You mean the CSI people come up?
The scene wasn't chaos. To have their relationship with the Idaho State Police. We knew what their capabilities were, and so that was the first call that we made to have their investigative team come up and help us process the scene. The scene wasn't chaos, the neighborhood, but it was very, very somber. Like I said, that is a community of college students that live over there. Many of them, through word of mouth, knew what had happened. They were standing outside. There was a lot of crying. There were friends trying to find out who exactly was inside the house. Some family members that arrived on scene. It was incredibly hard for the community, but it was also really, really hard on our officers, some of whom were very young, and that was the first real major crime scene that they had encountered. So
What the fuck? You must have, not watched those body cams before you decided to speak on this. Your coroner was passing out, basically autographs, souvenirs, souvenir booties. I mean, we have the body cams. Listen to this shit. This is crazy. Nobody that was there was acting like, oh my God. Not a single person. Not a single one of those officers. You would have thought that they were preserving a bike being stolen. 4 bikes were stolen.
Emotionally, it was a very, very draining day. But resources came, and then the first about 3 days was just an adjustment, trying to get resources in place and then get a system that worked for everybody. The FBI got involved almost immediately. And the FBI, the Idaho State Police, and the Moscow Police Department all have a little bit different way of doing things. And that's okay, but when you're working collectively, you have to put a system in place that starts information flowing and you can handle it in a logical manner. So fortunately, the FBI has some experience in those areas, and they were very, very good at helping us set up their virtual command post. And then once everything was in place, it became a very, very systematic method of processing the information that was coming in.
Really, because the Taylor feels differently, and so do we. Nobody can find anything. Okay, it's very systematic, huh? So systematic that your own expert had to write a completely different report because it was all numbered incorrectly at the scene. The numbers were changed, tags were changed. The fuck out of here. Dude, this is wild to go back and watch this shit. This is nuts. And they basically telling themselves without telling themselves, because it's like they know stuff internally. And so it's like, hey, we got to get out, because they think that we know that shit. We don't know that stuff, but we're going to find out one day. And it only just makes it all look worse. Why the fuck would you ever sit down and do this?
Can you sum up the last month in terms of?
And you guys, they sit down and do this because they are trying to further their careers. Their careers. Their careers.
Yeah, a lot of emotional highs and lows, but an incredible amount of teamwork. The general public doesn't have any idea the scope of this investigation, the number of people that are involved, not just here in Moscow, but
neither do you guys. You guys didn't understand the scope of this. You guys weren't going out. Holy shit. Holy shit. Molly McMichael tells you that she changes her tires, changes her phone right after the murders, and you just don't blink. Molly McMichael, you find out that, God damn it, Molly, how come it took you 2 hours to get food to Xana? And then how did you get lost, Molly? And then what were you doing? Where were you parking? What did you say you saw? What the hell's going on? Where's Molly? Where's Molly leaving up out of the city to go back to Pullman? Where's her car on, like, let's say, one of those cameras at X number of time, like, leaving? Ridiculous.
Investigative and interview teams in the northern part of Idaho, the southern part of Idaho, the eastern part of Idaho, resources from the Salt Lake City FBI office, the Coeur d'Alene FBI office, analysts back in Virginia, and the number of people that have flown here or driven here from great distances to just lend their specialty to this investigation. We have the FBI's command post in our parking lot, and we've hooked them up to Wi-Fi, and everything that they would normally do down in Salt Lake City, they're doing right here in our parking lot. So the team effort has been amazing. It's been overwhelming at times, but there are so many people with so much expertise.
So, Roger Lanier, is it your opinion that nobody was inside, co-located in the same room, like everybody has been testifying to?
But he always steps up and takes the role that needs to be filled.
What role has?
Do you guys understand that there is not one media picture of a bunch of, like, big old, I don't know, Winnebago type vehicles in the Moscow Police Department parking lot of having these, setups? Don't you think that the media would have caught that to say, oh my God, look at, start taking pictures of what's in the parking lot at the police station?
Speculation, rumors, and the conversations on social media play in the investigation?
Yeah, that has been by far the most frustrating part of this. We've always closely guarded the information that we've discovered at the scene, and our
We closely guarded it. Oh my God, you trampled it. Guarded it.
investigative information because we want to protect the integrity of this investigation. And just look at social media and the rumors that fly out there. A small piece of information that has speculation added to it just takes its own life on the internet and starts rumors. And then we find ourselves not only tracking those rumors down.
What rumors are you talking about? What rumors are you talking about? Seriously though, like what rumors? You were publicly clearing people. Who cares if people want to speculate and say that the grub truck video that's out there looks like, then go ahead, and if you would have just released the video that showed them 3 walking together down, from the bar together, clip like that, you would have clipped those nuts right like that. Oh, that's right. They didn't even have that video. Show a little clip of the video of Showalter, because they had it right away. Showalter with Maddie and Kaylee leaving together the corner club. Clip the nuts right there. Why are you so concerned about social fucking media? I've never seen a department come out and whine about social media like I did the Moscow Police Department. Dude, it's them that can't get off the fucking social media circuit. Stop watching the shit. That's all you're consuming. Do your goddamn job. And you didn't fucking do it well, because look at fucking Steve Gonsalves eating your fucking asses. And I love it. Eat their ass, Steve. Sit up here and fucking lie every day saying that you work with integrity so that you could, get a successful prosecution. That's a joke. Embarrassing. If this was my kid's case, the fucking shit I'd be saying. Eat their ass, Steve.
And trying to quell them, but also we see our tips that come in are geared more toward the rumor, not the facts that have been put out.
What
and
facts?
The really unfortunate.
What facts have you put out? You put out the rumors. You put out the rumors that 2 girls were in the basement together and didn't see dick. And then you have your own people coming to you that are students there saying how strange they think it is that 4 people would be murdered in that home and the other 2 were just slept through it. They think that's strange. And you just look the other way. That's what the interviews were coming in saying. The interviews that were coming in were talking about the fuck happened here.
Part of it is the effect that it's had on the victims' families, on the college students and friends of the victims, some of whom have had death threats and constant harassment by various media outlets. So it's been devastating in some ways. In many ways, it just.
Who the hell? Let me see a tip. Let me see anything that who has gotten death threats, you guys? Do you understand? We have gone through this entire case. Where have you seen a report of anybody reporting that I'm getting death threats? What? Who's getting death threats? Oh my God. You're creating. Look at what the hysteria you created. You loved it, Lanier. What job did you try to go get next, right? Didn't you try to get like a chief position? You let little fucking rookies run through the crime scene over and over and over. And you did it too, as the vet that you are. The veteran fucking officer is literally just prancing his ass through a crime scene with no booties, no gloves, no nothing. Just planting your ass in the fucking kitchen, right on top of the exit of where the killer supposedly left. Laughing fucking stock. Putting out a stock image of a vehicle that you want people to go running around searching for to flood your own fucking tip line.
Re-victimizes folks who have already suffered this terrible trauma.
What is next for this investigation?
Well, this investigation is not cold. We get tips every day that are viable. We get dozens and dozens of tips. We sort through them, we prioritize them, and for sure, some of them are not good tips. They're not even relevant to the case. But every single day,
how do you know? How do you know? What if that crime scene would tell you that what was relevant and what wasn't? Because now that we know what the crime scene looked like, and now that we see what y'all did, you don't know your fucking ass from a hole in the ground.
We get a good amount of viable tips, and those tips help us do everything from clear people who
clear people. The only thing that would have cleared anybody from that crime scene would be DNA. Period. Phone data. Period. And y'all didn't even look at the shit when you were going and getting people's DNAs, when you were going and getting and downloading their phones. You guys weren't even looking at the shit. You weren't processing that. You were still at the stage of gathering information when the FBI gave you the name Brian Kober, and then y'all for 10 days didn't even go to the Peggy Guns of the world, to the DMVs, to see who possibly, hey, this is what came back with this guy's name. It looks like he had been here. Looks like he just transferred. I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell me that you would. You'd be able to tell that the dude he transferred his title to Washington on November 18th. And you didn't think that maybe we should go and talk to these people? Maybe they have video? No, why would we ever do something like that? That's like actual like brains. Instead, what'd you do?
Maybe there was some speculation about to further some of the theories that we're working on. So
what were those theories? How many people did you think did this crime, Raj?
Next is just to continue.
What'd you think when there was no mixture of blood between the upstairs victims and the downstairs victims? What'd you think about that when you found out that there is not a single mixture of the two victims upstairs with the two victims downstairs, not a single mixture of that dynamic? What do you think? What you think? I just want to know what you thought. Did you even know? Birdie just had I think he's going to be on again tonight, so make sure we're going to go over there and see Birdie tonight. He's got another interview with a blood spatter expert, and the last time he was on, when he was given the material, he made it very apparent that one of the most significant parts of the crime scene is the fact that the victims upstairs, right, and the victims downstairs, that their DNA profiles, there's no mix. They're never mixture. Think about that. And the reason he said that was so significant is because a lot would have to, there's the possibilities of how that would be true are not indicative in any way of what they're saying, the police are saying happened in that house. And that's what the experts were saying that Ann Taylor went and obtained to say, hey, you need to take a look at this crime scene. Have you ever seen, here it is, here's all the, and no mixtures. There is no mixtures between Maddie and Kaylee and anybody downstairs. Huh? Yeah, and they said this happened in like 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Huh? Wait, what? Yeah, and there's no footprints, like footwear, nothing. Like even if it was just your bare fucking feet or if it was booties. That's the first thing that Scott Roeder said to me. And he only saw a little bit of it, and he said, this is a very cool, calm, and collected person. Somebody isn't running all over because the gravity droplets, they're not being smeared. And that was upstairs photographs that I showed him in Maddie's room. Okay. That's only possible by like a couple different scenarios. And guess what? The big thing is time. Time. If one person did it, it's going to take a lot of time because you're not committing that crime either, whether it was downstairs or upstairs, whatever one was first or second, right? You're not committing that without having basically a whole new garb on, different weapon. Multiple people. And all I'm saying is that doesn't mean that Brian Culver is not one of them. I'm saying, God, how could you ever let anybody walk away from this crime? How could you not get everybody involved? Is that like just a head scratcher? And you know what their answer was? Well, Brian Culver didn't have any friends. Like, Brian Culver, he's not over here telling us who he did this with. It's like, what? That's your response. That Brian Culver didn't have any friends. Who could Brian Culver have done this with? And I'm over here like, what? Whoa.
Continue on what we're doing, eliminate the information that we know is not going to be relevant to the investigation, and take all the new information. And eventually, and we see this coming, eventually we're going to narrow in on exactly what happened and who did it.
They didn't. What happened and who did it? They did not. How that all happened was IGG. Think about it. Thank you, Roger Lanier. Now, December 15th. So we got the 12th, the 13th, and now
take us back
the
when
15th.
investigators first started asking for video. What sources were you asking to get video from?
Well, we started looking for video the day of the crime. Officers on scene, before I even arrived, had identified certain residences in the area that had video cameras. We know just from past.
Did you guys hear that? Certain residences, not just one. Okay. We know what time he arrived. So what other residents are you talking about, Lanier? Again, and Taylor would be asking this. What camera footage are you referring to before you got there, Raj? Because let me tell you what time you got there. And so she would tell him the time. And then he would say, what residences are you talking about? Because we only have one camera that we all got. And that one camera was 1112 at that point. The question then would be is, when did you get Linda Lane, motherfucker? When did you get Linda Lane? You're trying to sit here and tell this community, myself, everybody listening at that point in time, that y'all, before you got on scene, there was multiple residents that you were able to say they have camera footage. You guys, we have body worn camera on every single one of those people, and there is nobody that is even remotely on Linda Lane. There is nobody that remotely goes and walks over to Linda Lane to identify the Linda Lane cameras. Is this man like? So when somebody says something that's so obviously wrong and lying, you have to ask yourself, why is he at this point in time saying that? And why does he want to push this narrative? This false narrative. There was no other camera except 1112 that was identified by anybody before he arrived. He's lying. This is a lie. flat out 1000%. We know it's a lie now because we have the body cam footage. So why? It's basically he's saying this because he's taking it out of the hands of truly how he obtained it, which would be through how? What, the president's relationship with the guy that, or is it because you guys already know about Linda Lane camera footage because you guys have used it so many times in the past and you guys know when the camera shuts off. Hey, during this window, there's not going to be any footage on Taylor. Wow. Can you just imagine that somebody could possibly have known that during the time frame of when this camera gets updated daily, that's when the crime occurred? Huh. Wow. If you don't sell that to the jury, you're an idiot if you're on the defense.
Experience that security cameras, doorbell cameras, and the like are very, very commonplace now. And that's a part of our standard procedures to start looking for a possible video source in and around crime scenes. So we started the day of the crime. And then that expanded as we got more investigators to the area for assistance, and we started putting together teams. And one of our team's sole job was to go through the King Road area, associated neighborhoods, and eventually the main thoroughfares in the city of Moscow, trying to identify videos, video cameras, etc., and then contact those business owners, contact those residents, and ask for copies of that video.
And initially, there was
God, Roger Lanier seems like he was really in the know of how this all went down versus, say, like Officer Payne. Okay. Officer Payne, when asked this type of a question by Ann Taylor during the proceedings, he was just clueless. So one would have to ask themselves, Ann Taylor, I got to ask you, why wasn't Roger Lanier a witness in trying to obtain a Franks hearing? He's over here using that. We had a team. Guess who that team consisted of? Leslie Lehman and Kristen Noah. Leslie Lehman is just god awful. God awful. She can't go through a surveillance camera to save her life. She has no concept of chronological order. You guys know that, right? She does not know how to use an Excel spreadsheet. You guys know what chronological order is, right? At 12 o'clock, blue vehicle comes through the intersection. 12:01, red vehicle comes through the intersection, right? Like, well, this broad, she picks and chooses what vehicles we should be marking down and leaves huge gaps in murder cases. I've proven that. I sent the material to the defense and said, if Leslie Lehman had anything to do with collecting surveillance cameras, she tries to bury them, and she will go around and say that surveillance camera isn't there or doesn't work. That's what she did in a 2020 case. And she put together a spreadsheet that they used to create probable cause for arrest and search warrants with her work that she left out huge material that would have contradicted witness statements that they used in the 19-page affidavit that proved that witness statement was completely false. That's who Leslie Lehman is. That's who Mike Van Leeuwen is. And that's the team. These are the people that you put on the team for surveillance cameras. Fuck out of here. Embarrassing. Love you, Lana. Lana, nothing but the best here. No one better than Lana, what she does. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Free bird forever. Have you guys ever heard? Go find me a case. This only happens in Idaho, I swear. Go find me a case where the civil case takes place in a murder case before the actual murder trial ever takes place. Then find me a case that after the civil case, then they decide, okay, we're going to try to go forward with a criminal case. Tell me when that's ever happened. In 2020, in Idaho, the Idaho State Police investigated the murder of Brian Drake, a chiropractor. 6 months later, they decided to arrest another chiropractor for the murder, saying that he was stealing patients. And so that was why he did this and blah, blah, blah. They get him to basically false confess. Then the confession gets thrown out. Then they are like, well, this is what we had for probable cause without this that they're never allowed to use. Oh, we don't have anything. Then the wife of the chiropractor that was murdered wants to, sue for wrongful death, the chiropractor that was arrested and falsely confessed. And they end up having a civil trial. It doesn't go to trial though, because the chiropractor that false confessed was then threatened that we're going to arrest you for murder if you come to Idaho and have anything to do with this civil case. At the end of the day, they just default. The courts, with no evidence, awards $15 million to this widow in Idaho State Police. And then now, about a year later, the widow is out there on social media tagging the Attorney General's office saying, I want you to take on my husband's case and bring criminal charges on the guy that false confessed, and then I have a $15 million judgment for. What? Yeah. Bonners Ferry, Boundary County decided to pass. They're not prosecuting the case. The widow's like, take all that stuff, that case file, and send it to Nye up at the AG's in Boise. You guys take it on. What? Yeah. She's over here telling the world that the Attorney General's office is going to take on this murder case after a civil case has already happened. After, in every newspaper, $15 million judgment was awarded. How in the fuck is that possible? Have you ever heard of that? That we're going to now... What? Tell me how that's possible. Tell me how that is not the most prejudicial shit you've ever heard in your life. Well, I don't think any of it's possible. I think the prosecutor told Jennifer Drake, we're not prosecuting. We're not prosecuting. If you think that you can get the AG's office to go ahead and prosecute, by all means, sure, we'll send everything to them. So she goes out and tells the internet this. And she's trying to sell it to the internet, all of you people in Idaho, that the Attorney General's office in Idaho, Mr. Nye, the science guy, Jeff Nye, who's running the criminal division, that she's trying to tell everybody that our prayers have been answered. Thank you so much for praying, because the Attorney General's office is going to take on this case. And I'm like, only in fucking Idaho would that ever happen. So maybe there's a chance. But how in the world would Dan Moore ever even get a fair trial? Are they going to vacate the civil 15 mil? They're going to vacate all that? And then what happens if they were to charge him and he fucking gets acquitted? Because he would. Then are they going to vacate the wrongful death? 15 mil? Jennifer Drake basically got away with murder, in my opinion. And she's over here banging on the door of the AG's office. These are the same people that investigated the Idaho 4 case. Idaho State Police, Leslie Lehman, Mike Van Leuven, Gary Tolson. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that you think that that's even fucking possible. Go read her tweets or her posts. They're absolutely unfucking believable.
Particular area outlined as where the priority was for asking for video. Why was that area selected?
Well, that area was selected because essentially it surrounds the King Road area, and we know that people typically have to travel to and from. We weren't trying to pigeonhole our investigation into the suspect lives in the area. We wanted to make sure that we covered all the bases. And so as we began to gather more information, we began to expand our search area. You may recall from the second press conference that we specifically put out a plea to the public for any video in the King Road area, and then we gave a defined area, and we put that area on our website as well, asking residents, hey, if you have video or if your neighbor has video, let us know so we can get a copy of that. We understand that video has a finite life, and sometimes systems will start recording over themselves. So we started that process very, very early in the investigation.
Why ask the public for?
Wait, what?
Put that area on our website as well, asking residents, hey, if you have video or if your neighbor has video, let us know so we can get a copy of that. We understand that video has a finite life, and sometimes systems will start recording over themselves. So we started that process very, very early in the investigation.
Okay, perfect. Why did you ever go and get the video though from Indian Hills? Oh, Eric Gower. Can you say OJ? That's not the question. You guys, OJ, did OJ have his civil case first? Oh, you're right, Lana. No. The question is have you ever heard of a civil case happening first and then a criminal case happening after it? That's the question. You have to have brains to be over here at my channel here, Keith. And the answer to that is absolutely not. Okay? You don't have a civil case first in a wrongful murder death case. In fact, it's stayed until there's a resolution in a criminal case. That's normally what happens. There's never, go find me a case where somebody was rung up civilly and said, how are you even bringing evidence forward? They didn't even have a civil case. The Moores just defaulted. Because guess what? Anything that Dr. Moore or his wife or anybody would ever say could be used against them in a civil case for the criminal case. And this is why when you have a competing interest to protect your Fifth Amendment right, we have a Fifth Amendment right here. And the whole purpose of me explaining this to everybody is that how could Dr. Moore lose his Fifth Amendment right? He shouldn't have, right? Greedy fucking lawyers in Idaho did what they did. But what evidence was ever admissible and made admissible in a criminal trial that was then used in the civil proceeding with the Moore case? None. Because there was never a criminal trial. So Dr. Moore is found to be liable and guilty for civil claims brought up by Jennifer, but nothing, there's been no criminal case? You gotta be kidding me. I'm sitting and trying to talk to these lawyers and try to say, what's going on here? Why would you ever lift a stay? Because these lawyers were so greedy with money and we're like, here, we're going to lift the stay because there's a stay put on the civil case until the criminal case it's going to be stayed until there's the criminal case is adjudicated. If it never gets adjudicated, then guess what? That stay on the civil case will be there forever and ever and ever and ever. As it should. Well, guess what the Moore's attorney did? She wanted to make $1 million. And you can't make $1 million off of a stayed case. So she told the Moores to do a no objection to Jennifer Drake asking for the stay to be lifted and for them to go forward with a civil case because she wanted to get something. Who the fuck would ever give advice like that? Nobody. That's ineffective assistance of counsel all day, every day. And in fact, the only person that made any money here, or that your client is still, like, the Idaho State Police have come out and verbalized that Dan Moore's their guy. They're not investigating the case. Even with all the evidence you could possibly give them, that's their guy. What lawyer in their right fucking mind would ever take on and become somebody's civil attorney while being their criminal defense attorney? Jill Bolton was Dan Moore's criminal defense attorney. So think about this. Ann Taylor, criminal defense attorney of Brian Kohlberger. Then the family sue Brian. Ann Taylor becomes his civil attorney. What? That is a conflict of interest, if there is one. If there's ever a word conflict, that's it, right? Well, guess what? Let's say that things would have went the way that they did for the prosecution, for actually the defense, and she would have been tossed in this case. And so basically, like, there was no probable cause then, and so therefore, they basically fumbled the case, and lo and behold, just like Dan Moore, the criminal case, goes away. It's dismissed, but not entirely, because there's the statute of limitations on murders forever, and it wasn't dismissed with prejudice; it's without. So they can bring these charges if they are at any point in time to put the evidence and get more evidence and whatever, right? So think about it. So think about this. The case would, if it was thrown out of Brian Kohlberger, but the civil, let's say then the parents come in and they say, well, we want to sue Brian Kohlberger civilly. All right. Well, you can do that, but it's going to be stayed until the criminal case is adjudicated. You understand? And so when the parents would have sued Brian, Ann Taylor is like, okay, yeah, I'll be your civil attorney too. And guess what? We're going to countersue the parents for defamation. What? Yeah. Do you understand that means that Brian Kohlberger has to write a countersuit up and be willing to, he's going to be testifying to shit? Who would ever do that? You would have just answered the complaint, then asked for the stay. And so it would have all been stayed. But now just think about this. You're going to sit here and tell me that Ann Taylor would have said to herself, Brian, let's lift the stay and let's take on this civil case. The fuck? No. Right? That's stayed. The only way that you would ever tell somebody to do that is if you want to be a greedy fuck and make a bunch of money off of a civil case that someone's paying you to represent them, and you're racking up a ton of fucking hours, and Brian's over here just paying his fucking civil litigation bills. Who would ever do that? Nobody. So one should ask themselves, why would the Moore's attorney ever tell them to do a no objection to Jennifer Drake wanting to take a case forward in civil court where Dan Moore is going to have to testify and say all of this stuff that could one day be used against him? Not that he would say anything crazy wrong. It's just, that's what they twist anything that you say because they use it against you. So think about that for a second. That's what happened in this Moore case. They go forward with a civil trial, but there was no civil trial because at the last minute, the Moores defaulted. And attorneys made over $1 million off of them. To then default? Who the fuck does that? Nobody. It's because these attorneys bailed on them. Nobody wants to go up against the fucking police in that town. And then they're also in bed with them. The fucking Moore's attorney, her husband's a goddamn cop. Fucking A, her dad's a cop. I said, what the hell did you guys get yourselves into getting this fucking lawyer? I told her to her face she's a piece of shit. I said, you're a piece of shit. I was like, you don't even know the case. You thought that Jennifer Drake's defense team, or whatever you want to call it, her lawyers put together this, what do you call it? This PowerPoint? That's how much you don't know about the case. That's straight from the goddamn discovery of the criminal defense discovery from the criminal case. How did Jennifer Drake get that? Why did the cops give Jennifer Drake their whole open and active investigation into her husband's murder? She gave them the whole entire discovery to take on a criminal or to take on a civil case against the man. And you fucking dumbasses tell Dan Moore that, oh, well, Lana's really good with stuff. Can she make us up a PowerPoint to match the one that Jennifer's team did? And I looked at these people and I said, you think that Jennifer's team made that PowerPoint? I said, that's how much you don't know about this fucking case. That PowerPoint comes straight from the goddamn criminal discovery, you stupid bitch. And you just got paid $200,000 cash? And the Moors are rolling with your fucking horse motherfucking mouth? Take a seat. I said, here are the people that you need to go depose. Get on it. I said, and here's all the questions you need to ask them. I gave you fucking everything. I did all of your work. Go do it. I went through every fucking piece of everything. Go do it. Go depose all these people and get everybody on the hook in case they ever try to come for fucking Dan Moore in a goddamn criminal case, you dumb bitch. Protect your goddamn client. What? I said, who the fuck would ever have their client speak in a deposition who's facing and looking at a murder charge, you stupid cunt? Go sit and spin on another fucking badge. That's what the fuck I told her. Embarrassing. Idaho's embarrassing. People make me sick. That's fucking elder abuse. That girl had the audacity to lie and tell me that she interviewed Eldora Gatchel not once but twice with a private investigator. I said, the fuck you did. I said, the fuck you did. I said, you just lied to your clients. Are you kidding me? You didn't interview Eldora Gatchel twice with this private investigator. He doesn't even know what the fuck you're talking about. And you try to just lie to your clients and say that Eldora Gatchel doesn't know anything. She can't even drive anymore. These are the lawyers that you were stuck with in Idaho, who literally are in bed with the other side. And people in Idaho are so fucking weak and soft, and you guys want guns. You guys are so, oh, my guns, my guns. How about get some fucking brains? How about get some brains? Fucking, you guys are the laughing stock of the fucking United States of America. Idaho. The butt of every fucking joke in true crime. What, the fucking Daybells? Is that in Idaho? Sick motherfucking shit.
Why ask the public for additional help with this white car?
Well, through our tips, through our leads, some of the evidence that came in, we start to identify patterns. And like we said earlier, we are confident that
Develop patterns. These people are pathetic. These people are so pathetic. Idaho are cupcakes. Lana, your passion is just fucking contagious. It is. It should be. It should make you. It should outrage you. This should outrage you. This should outrage anybody. It should outrage Idaho.
that the occupant or occupants of that vehicle have information that's critical to this investigation. We also understand that even though there's sometimes a fascination with a particular case, some people simply don't see the news and may not know that we're looking for it. So if we get the word out there, hey, maybe your neighbor has one in the garage that they don't drive very often. Maybe there's one that's just not on the registration database. Let us know. So far, we have a list of approximately 22,000 registered white Hyundai Elantras that fit into our criteria that we're sorting through. That's an awful lot of
right there. And that's what I asked Peggy. I said, where did they get this from? The 75 people that were watching from Idaho are pissed. They're like, Lana, we're not watching anymore. Clearly, I don't think that of all Idahoans, the Moors seem to love me. You guys are just getting taken advantage of. All the people of Idaho are getting taken advantage of. It's just one big circle jerk there. The attorneys are working with the judges and the cops. Everybody is working together against you. Okay? It's basically like family law for everything in Idaho. And family law is a complete, it should be illegal. Family law should be illegal. You guys, he just said, this is what I asked Peggy. For him to say that there's 22,000 Elantras that meet our criteria, I'm over here like, where did you get this information from? Because you didn't even go to the people like you would need to the Peggy Guns of the world, the people that work there to get this information. What databases are you going off of? Is that the FBI doing it? How is the FBI getting those numbers? Where are those subpoenas? What's the FBI doing? I asked Peggy, did anybody come and talk to you prior to his arrest? No, not a single person. Nobody. Nobody asked you to look up, people were looking for white Elantras. Nope. Trying to see if anybody had just registered one or nope. This is a joke. This is an absolute joke.
There's one that's just not on the.
If this car was so important and valuable to you, you would think that, I don't know, between December 19th when you had his name and December 29th when you arrested the motherfucker, that then at that point you would have went and saw Peggy. Nope. You guys had no idea that he changed his title and registration and put everything into Washington on the 18th. You didn't know that? There is no reports of them knowing that. There's no reports in evidence, in discovery of them ever even talking to a Peggy Gun. That is absolutely crazy. The only way that Ann Taylor got her name was from the grand jury. Grand jury. Peggy was called and she testified at the grand jury. After the police came to the store and talked to her, then she goes to the police department to talk to the detectives and they go over the camera. So she watches it all. She gets to see an exhibit. And then they walk through and they talk to her about the whole entire 25-minute interaction. They don't write up a police report about this. Then she goes to Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings' freaking offices prior to the grand jury, and she has meetings and interviews with them. No reports. And she said that those were recorded. No reports. What? And then she's called to the grand jury. That's the timeline. And all of this was well after his arrest. So all of this shit and what you're hunting for, this is pathetic.
Registration database. Let us know. There's one that's just not on the registration database. Let us know.
Registration database. The registration database. If there's one just that possibly not on the registration database. What? They didn't. I hope to God, Ann Taylor, one of her questions are, Captain Lanier, how did you get the registration database for white Hyundai Elantras. How did you receive those? Oh, I don't know. We didn't do it. Who did it? You come out and give this interview about something that you have no idea about? Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything. I didn't do anything. I just trampled the scene over and over. I just walked through that crime scene over and over again, like the Nelly and Tim McGraw song. Somebody should take the interview that I did with Peggy and send that to Ann Taylor and say, Lana says you're welcome. You like that over and over again. So anyways, this live should really wake us up to the fact of where they took Eric Gower to look through his vehicle. They took him right behind the crime scene in the neighborhood that butts up to King Road, and how you would have to get out of there. It is a couple different buildings back there that are owned or were rented out by the city of Moscow, okay? And it's where all the cars were disappearing that were leaving that back area. Like, hey, Eric, we want you to come on down. We're going to take you back up from, West Palouse over here. And we're going to take some pictures of your car and go through it. Dude, they didn't process shit of his vehicle. So why do it? Why take any picture? What are you doing? ISP 10124 supplement PG 352. Page 352. What's the report for 124 or supplemental 124, page 352? Are you trying to say that that's the Peggy Gun interview? Or is that the Eric Gower interview? Which one? You think that's who? There's no way that's Peggy. It doesn't mention Peggy. It's vague that mentions he swapped his plates. Peggy, my ass. Where's the reports of her going to and doing an interview with Bill Thompson at the prosecutor's office? Where's a report of her doing an interview with Ashley Jennings and her office? Where's a report that the police came to her workplace? Where's the report where they sat down and watched the video from the DMV and she answered questions from that? No report exists of this. I am going to look up report 124 right now. 124 downloads. Hold on. Lana was just going off about Idaho today. Somebody needs to. Don't hang out in Idaho for, shit. Let's see. Batch. Almost there. Okay, got it. We're going to share this. Okay. 332. What page did you say? Page 352. 352. Reported on 1/13/2023 on January 4th. Hugh Powell and Detective Jake Schwecke collected receipts and surveillance camera footage and conducted interviews at blank in Pullman, Washington. Brian Culber switched the title and registration of his 2015 white Hyundai Elantra from Pennsylvania to Washington on November 18th, 2022. The evidence collection and interview were in reference to the murder of Matt. Okay. On January 4th, blank, who is the owner of, this is the owner, you guys. Peggy is not the fucking owner. We met, blank and I met with this person who is the owner of blank in Pullman, Washington. Blank informed us that on November 18, 2022, Culber came into blank and changed his title and vehicle registration from Pennsylvania to Washington. This is not Peggy's. Come on, Sarah, you think, who you fucking with, girl? This ain't Pegs. Then do they talk to Peggy? Blank was able to surprise us with the security camera footage, including audio of the transaction with her clerk. Blank. Detective Sharkey and I interviewed blank at blank. Who? Blank remembered Culber coming in to switch his plates from Pennsylvania to Washington. Guess what she said? No. So where's her part where she's like, they went to them. They called them. Where does it say that we got collected receipts and surveillance camera footage and conducted interviews? Brian Culber. See how they don't make the mention that these people contacted us? No. Blank recalled Culber was a super nice guy and very charming. She even added him to their Christmas card list. What? What? Peggy, I'm going to text her right now. Peggy is going to be like, wait, I'm like, did you get on the Christmas card list? What's that about? She's going to... Wait a second. Wait a second. Did Brian join the Christmas card list? So wait, where's the report of them actually going? So this is the report where? From actually at the DMV? Because she said that was quick and that she actually went to the station to interview with these detectives, which she was right. Idaho State Police detectives. Here you go. That's who they were. Culber wore gloves the entire time he was in, but didn't think it was abnormal due to the cold temperatures they were experiencing at that time. She said because of COVID. She said, well, you heard what she said. Also, I would love to have asked her, did she remember that, or was it until she saw the video? Which I will right now. The reason Culber was switching his title and vehicle registration to Washington was that he was a graduate student at WSU and he needed to get residency. I turned all evidence, surveillance footage, and audio of interviews over to the Moscow Police Department. Well, Period. Shit. Period. Period. You guys, anytime that there's only a report like this, you understand that she then went into the police department. She's like, I went there. They had me go there and sit down with these detectives and go through the video. Where is that in this report? Not there. DMV isn't owned by anyone. I think this could be from the auto parts store. He purchased brackets to put on his second license plate. No. She's the boss. So like when they want to say like who owned it, I mean I can ask her more about that. But boss owned. What a bunch of idiots. This is what Ann Taylor gets. DMVs don't do Christmas cards. Oh, just wait for it. We're going to find out. I just asked her. Do I get a C- for effort? You do, goddammit, sir. You get an A. An A. This is nuts. He was aware of the case and had seen he was currently employed as a blank for the blank. Wait, this is not the right one. It's 352 right here. Page 1 of 1. This is a different one. Page 1 of 1. If this was longer, like this is the end of it. And then the next one is 125. So this is 124. And look at, they're like, we cannot let anybody know. Nobody is going to know who this is. No hints, no clues. And this is all that they try to say happened. In fact, let me take a picture of this and send it to her. This is all they give credit to Peggy for. Peggy's MVP over here. You would think that this woman oh shit. I said this is all they wrote. Let me know what you think. January 4th. The grand jury wasn't seated until May. Remember, they waited and pulled that shit. Sarah gets an A+. Love you, Sarah. A+, absolutely. Anyways, so they basically lie and act like this is all they did with Shug Tits Peg. Ridiculous. Unbelievable. They don't say that it's a tip. Like following up with a tip. Like where, like what? Successful report title. Take that out. Location. We're not going to tell anybody where the fuck we did this at. Race unknown. Peggy, they did not know your race, girl. Individual name. Female. On January 4th, Idaho State Police Detective Checker and I met with this person like why? How did you, who is the owner of blank and Pullman? Blank informed us that on November 18th, came into the blank place and changed his title and vehicle registration from Pennsylvania to Washington on his Hyundai Elantra. Blank was able to provide us with security camera footage, including audio of the transaction with her clerk, blank, and a receipt of the transaction. Detective Swacky and I interviewed blank at blank Peggy or Gun at the name of the place. The following is a summary of the interview. For the full details, review the audio, which guess what? We're going to go get right now. For you this. Report 124 supplemental page 3 biddy 2. It was Hugh Powell and Detective Shawecki. Jacob Shawecki. Detective Jacob Shawecki, I believe, was there, Jacob, on the day of on 11/13. Peggy Gun, we want audio. Oh my God. And so Ann Taylor is over here thinking that this is all that occurred. Damn. All right, so we're going to go out and get that for you. Thank you, Judy. Appreciate that. All right, guys. We're going to end it here. Please go back and check out the beginning. All the bombshell information on Eric Gower and where they actually had his car taken to and sorted through was a property piece that was rented out by the city. I believe the Palouse people were the managing. I don't know, but that's right where everything was going on back behind the King Road house in that neighborhood. Willenta takes you right there to go. And when these cars are just disappearing, oh, you could just pull in out back here and just pull it into the bay. So go take a look. I think it's absolutely mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. And then that's where they end up going through Eric Gower's vehicle. They do it there instead of like at his house. Also, we're looking for, so before you guys peace out, I put another request in. Eric Gower supposedly turned over his Ring camera footage to show that he was home, right? That has not surfaced anywhere. And so we're looking for that because I believe that the reason that they would have had to get the Indian Hills cameras over there is because something wasn't panning out with Mr. Gower. Okay. And because he leaves his house after 3, because he takes a call that has to go pick people up from back over there in the King Road neighborhood and travel then out away from the King Road neighborhood. And he shut off his apps, the Uber app at 1:15, but he left on the Lyft app. And they never went and got the data for the Lyft app. Like, what? Why wouldn't you go and get the GPS coordinates for the Lyft app? Or if they did, it could have potentially been gotten by the FBI. And that's where the problem lied with Eric saying that he went home. And I think that there was then, well, no, you didn't. You went back out. So right now, Eric Gower is anything but crossed off my list. Like, sorry. Not saying he did anything, but he's gotten caught in some not so honest statements. Let's just say that. See you guys in the next one. Peace out. Thank you guys for being here. Rewind it back, check it out at the beginning. It shows you the location. Very important information. West Palouse River is the way that the killer would have left and had to leave out of there, that they're saying is Brian Kohlberger, right? And you're going to sit here and tell me that they knew all of this from jump and they didn't go and secure any camera footage that's leaving out right there on the corner of 95 and West Palouse. Get the fuck out of here, people. Everybody can sit and spin. They did nothing. Nothing. They were burying. They were burying shit. What were they afraid of? What were they afraid of finding? Peace, peace.